Hello and welcome to the Kitchen Design Experts, the channel that tells you all you need to know about kitchens, about bedrooms and about home offices.
Now, do you know how much money you should be spending on a mass-produced rigid carcass kitchen?
Do you even know what one is?
Well, you really should if you're planning to buy one, so we're going to tell you.
I know we've used the car analogy before, but you wouldn't pay a BMW price for a mid-range Citroen. The reason is you know what you're buying. But the same doesn't always apply to kitchen units. So in this series we're going to teach you everything you need to know about the different types of kitchens. So if you don't want to miss any of these thrilling episodes, make sure you subscribe and you hit that notification bell.
Today's subject is going to be mass-produced rigid carcass kitchens and hybrid kitchens. This is following on from the last video in the series where we discussed flat pack kitchens, and to ensure that you didn't miss that one, click the link there.
Okay, yes, these kitchens are mass-produced, just like a flat pack kitchen. But unlike a flat pack kitchen, they are fitted together differently. As opposed to a can fitting, the carcasses are rigid, glued and doweled. Now, warning here, some rather boring but very important information coming up.
This means the carcass will be fastened together by means of a small dowel or peg, usually made of wood, which inserts into the holes of the adjoining panels, which are then glued into place, holding the panels together, which in turn means these cabinets are fully assembled when you take delivery and are inherently more sturdy than a flat pack kitchen. Hence the term rigid. I suppose we could say less wobbly, but that doesn't really sound very professional. Well, was that boring?
Actually, yes, it was quite boring, but let's move on anyway. Okay, does this mean that they are better than flat pack kitchens? Well, as individual cupboards, actually yes they are. But like we've said before, once your kitchen is all fastened together by a competent fitter, it's fastened back to the wall, you put a worktop on top and screw that down, there's not actually that much difference between the effectiveness of the two methods. The difference actually lies elsewhere. And because you'll pay more for a rigid kitchen, you need to know why.
Well, firstly, the flat pack kitchens do hit the lower price brand and therefore use the cheaper components, whereas the rigid carcass kitchens will use better quality hinges, drawer boxes, and they'll use a more substantial material for their carcasses.
When we say more substantial, what we actually mean is denser. And when you think of the carcass of a kitchen, imagine screwing a screw into a solid piece of timber as opposed to screwing it into a Weetabix, and I do mean the cereal. I think you get the message. So if the salesperson is saying to you, oh, our kitchens are better because our carcasses are thicker, that's nonsense. What you want to do is ask them, what about the density? That'll shut them up.
Now, the second aspect is that the rigid carcass kitchens generally have a wider choice of colours and styles, therefore giving your designer more freedom to make a more individual kitchen for you and your family, whereas the flat pack kitchens are a little bit more limited.
Now, that means that you can actually achieve more of the elements on your wish list. And we've spoken about your wish list in a previous video. I'll leave a link here, maybe here. Anyway, let's get back to the pricing graphic.
Remember, these are approximate costings and refer to the cupboards including laminate worktops. They do not include for installation or appliance costs.
Now, as you can see, we're suggesting that the price range for these type of kitchens is between £3,500 and £8,000. Now, yes, that's quite a span. And this is because within this group of kitchens you can find vastly varying qualities of materials used, and in some cases a far greater choice of styles and colours, etc. Basically, the more you pay, you should expect to get better quality and more choice. At this stage, I think it's worth pointing out an understandable but often ignored fact about our kitchen industry.
Now, this information is important and definitely not boring.
Not boring.
Not boring.
Right. Basically, the two most important things about buying a fitted kitchen are the choice of designer that you're going to use on your project and the installation teams that's going to fit your project. Because what you'll find, the better quality designers and installation teams tend to gravitate towards the better quality kitchens. It's common sense, really.
And the designer will want to use these quality kitchens so that he can fully utilise his design skills. And he'll also want to ally himself with a quality fitting team so that they can help him realise that end goal and achieve that great looking kitchen.
Okay, so in a way, you can use the quality of your designer to gauge the quality of the kitchen. And that's why you should visit at least 3 showrooms, so you give yourself the opportunity to recognise good design. You deserve comparisons, so take your time.
And whilst we're on the subject, you'll start to notice a difference between designers as you move up the quality ladder.
The lower down the ladder, you'll find that the salespeople are more interested in sales than design. The deals matter, not the design. And you'll find yourself talking more and more about special offers, free dishwashers, and interest-free credit over 5 years.
And as you move up that ladder, you'll start to realise that where you peel your veg in relation to your sink becomes more important than special offers.
So, you can use this method to decide whether or not the mass-produced rigid kitchen that you're considering should genuinely be at the higher £8,000 level or at the lower £3,500 level.
And remember that most kitchens don't actually come with a printed price list. Salespeople will try to get as much as they can for the product that they're selling, especially if they're on commission. Be savvy, be led by your designer.
Absolutely. Now then, as we've said in the last video, here, whatever it comes up, we told you how to recognise the difference between a flat pack kitchen and a rigid kitchen, and that you shouldn't let the designer or salesperson try and pass something off that it's not.
So, how to distinguish between that rigid kitchen and the next level up being a custom-made kitchen? Well, there are many ways to distinguish this, but an easy one for you to ask is simply ask your designer or salesperson, can you have a drawer pack made 850mm wide?
That should certainly do the trick. And if they can't, then you are looking really at a mass-produced product and not a custom-made product.
The final thing to be said about the rigid mass-produced kitchens is that you can either buy those from independent smaller studios or from one of the multiples, say like Wren.
Now if you're buying it from one of the smaller independents, they will most likely use an external manufacturer, and when you look at the brochure that you're given, you'll see the brand name of that manufacturer on the brochure. Now you'll get a guarantee from that manufacturer. So if something happens to the kitchen retailer you've used, if they go out of business, and this does happen, you've still got your guarantee intact from the manufacturer. In actual fact, you've got a double guarantee, one from the manufacturer and one from the retailer.
And with these multiple stores, they make their own stuff. They've got facilities, factory facilities to do so. So they can usually guarantee their own product, meaning that as long as they are a well-established company, that your guarantee will be secure.
Right, time to move on to what we call hybrid kitchens. Now these are very similar in construction to the kitchens we've discussed previously, but in actual fact they should be a little less expensive.
The reason for this is they're not actually wholly made by one manufacturer. The kitchen retailer will put all the component parts together. They'll source the rigid carcass from one place and they'll source the doors from another.
Now yes, the construction might be the same, so you might be thinking, well, where's the problem then? Well, the problem is that in a way, they're sort of a cannibalised product. There is no one single manufacturer. Therefore, you don't have a manufacturer's guarantee. Your only guarantee is with the kitchen retailer you're dealing with. Now, as we have said, unfortunately, in many cases, kitchen retailers can go bust. So basically, if you have a problem, you have a problem.
Now, the types of retailers that usually sell these kitchens are usually the smaller independents rather than the big multiples. And if you were to ask them, what make of kitchen do you do? They'll usually reply with, well, we make our own. When in fact what they'll be doing is just getting the different components, including the carcass and the doors, and putting them all together. So, how do you tell the difference between a hybrid kitchen? Well, you could store in and ask, can I see the factory that you're making these in? But that could be quite confrontational.
The best way is to actually look at the brochure that the kitchen company is offering you. Now, if it is a hybrid style kitchen, when you look at the brochure, it's unlikely that you'll see a brand name anywhere on the brochure. And more importantly, in that brochure, they won't mention drawer boxes, they won't mention hinges. It is simply what we call a door brochure. There'll be lots of lovely pictures and there'll be some fancy names like Windsor or Regency range. But all they're selling in that brochure is the doors. No mention of the carcasses.
Now, essentially, as long as you're prepared to take the risk with the guarantees, there is nothing wrong with this kitchen. Though remember, it should be cheaper than another kitchen that's made wholly by one manufacturer.
Yep, so to sum up, there are many mass-produced rigid kitchens on the market, and they can do a great job, and they are usually very good value for money. But if you find yourself getting towards the top end of the bracket, up towards that £8,000 mark, you could look at the next level up, but at the lower end of that level of the custom-made kitchen market.
Here's that graphic again. You can see that you could consider the lower priced end of the designer kitchen market, which can overlap with some of the mass-produced kitchens. This will give you more individuality with your design.
And so remember, if at any point you're struggling gauging the quality of the kitchen you're looking at, be guided by the quality of the designer.
Okay, so that's it for this week. Now, I know we've thrown loads of information at you, so if you're still unsure about certain aspects of what we've been discussing, please do put them in the comments box below and we will get back to you.
We promise. And it's goodbye from him.
And it's goodbye from Nigel.
Is that what's
Such a child.
Is that what's tickling you all the way along? And then you do the other two.
Yes! I'm kind of glad.
You're going to do yours again, then.